We are going to dive into meditation, what it is, its impact on our brain and our body, and why even 5 to 10 minutes a day can begin to rewire your brain, calm your body, and create lasting shifts in how you feel. Welcome to Ebbs and Flows with Erin. In this show, we're getting real about navigating the ups and downs of life together. I'm your host, Erin, and we're ditching the pressure to have it all figured out along the way because honestly, nobody does. We'll explore all things healing, growing, creating, and connecting. And if you deal with anxiety, depression, being a highly sensitive person, or just feeling overwhelmed by life sometimes, I see you, and this show is for you. My intention with these conversations is simple: to leave you feeling empowered, validated, and most importantly, reminded that you are never alone, no matter where you're at on your own journey. Learning that we all have the power to heal genuinely changed my life. And the best part, healing does not have to be complicated. The smallest changes really can make the biggest impact, and it can be joyful, fulfilling, and something that we do together. So join me in getting real about what it means to heal. Thank you for being here, and now let's get into it. Hello, and welcome to Ebbs and Flows with Erin, or welcome back to Ebbs and Flows with Erin. I am your host, Erin, and I am happy to have you here with me today. Whether you are listening or watching over on YouTube at Ebbs and Flows YouTube channel, thank you for being here for part 4 of our nervous system regulation series. I am a meditation teacher now. I enrolled in my meditation teacher training last February 2024, and I completed my training at the end of 2024. And I took it through Arhanta Yoga. They are a yoga meditation school that is based in India, but they also offer their trainings and classes online. And I had a wonderful experience with them, and I learned so much. And a lot of what I'm going to be sharing in this episode, I am taking directly from my meditation teacher training resources. And I'm excited to share some of the stuff that I learned. And this is coming from someone who for my entire life, felt like I was someone who could not meditate. I would try every now and then, and I would feel frustrated because I couldn't stop my thoughts. I couldn't control my mind. I couldn't slow down my thoughts. So I thought that I just couldn't do it. So I would give up and never give it a real try. So if you are someone who has felt that way, I see you and I feel you. But I'm hoping that what I share in this episode can encourage you to give it another try, to understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge amount of time or effort or a big change in your life that you're making to reap the benefits of meditating, taking the time to be still with your body and your breath and your mind. And before we get into it, in case you haven't heard our past episodes in this series, I just want to quickly mention that part 1 was all about Nervous System 101, a quick intro into the nervous system, what it is and why it matters. Part 2 was all about energy healing. Part 3 was all about sound healing. And today we're getting into meditation. And I haven't yet decided what the next part will be, but the series will continue with more modalities for nervous system regulation. Okay, so to start us off, what impact does meditation have on us? Well, evidence from countless studies is now suggesting that meditation practices have the potential to influence and alter our nervous system settings, influence and alter our brainwave dominances, influence and alter our neurological physiology, alter our stress response, and our ability to recover from stress and prevent and support the cure of stress-related conditions, such as anxiety and burnout, regulate our emotions and support the cure of conditions such as depression and compulsive behavior, prevent and support the cure of various cardiovascular diseases by increasing heart rate variability, by decreasing inflammation response, increase our lifespan and life quality. So those are all areas the meditation impacts our health and wellness, proven by research and studies conducted over the years. So there are many reasons to be interested in giving meditation a shot. And again, to know that it doesn't necessarily have to be half an hour long, even 20-minute long practices. Even taking 5 to 10 minutes a day can make an impact on all of these areas, and we are going to dive more into that. So why does meditation have an impact on our nervous system? Well, we know that we need to be in the parasympathetic rest and digest state for any healing, growth, or change to take place in our life, to feel calm or relaxed, and we are often stuck in the sympathetic fight or flight state in today's world, especially if we are dealing with stress or just being constantly stimulated, which in this world we are constantly stimulated. So creating the space to take time to slow down, still your body, connect with your breath. It sends a signal to your nervous system and your mind that you are safe. And this is where we start to experience the lasting shifts in all the areas I just listed. And apart from external factors, the sympathetic nervous system also gets activated if your mind is running wild. Psychological stress like worry or anger shift our nervous system into the sympathetic state, therefore increasing our heart rate, our breathing, and triggering the release of adrenaline in our blood. These actions in turn are triggers of the sympathetic nervous system, which then creates more stress. And the stress-induced cycle is considered to be a great contributor to many common chronic diseases and conditions. It is a common knowledge that prolonged stress is unhealthy, and this circle of mental anxiety leading to sympathetic arousal is exactly the reason why. And another name for this stress response is allostatic overload, which is just a fancy name for a simple principle. If you keep running on high performance, fight or flight, too long and too much, you expose yourself to continuous physical or psychosocial stress, which in return results in wear and tear of body's regulatory systems. Your body will wear down faster, you will age faster, and as your immune system weakens, breeding ground for infinite diseases is created. So an example to understand this process is, imagine you are a car and you are running 24/7, 365 without a stop. On average, most car motors can last for at least 300,000 kilometers. You, as the car that has never stopped running, probably won't even last for half as many kilometers because you've never had time to cool down, rest, and regenerate. That's what it's like when you are constantly running on fight or flight, high stress mode. This is also where, and we've talked about this before, but people can find themselves stuck in a cycle of running themselves to the ground, getting sick. Their body forces them to slow down because you get sick, and then you have to slow down so that you can rest up and heal. And then you heal, but you go back to your same old pattern of running yourself to the ground, and then inevitably you fall sick again, and then your body forces you to heal. And you get caught in that cycle because when you're never changing your routine or changing your ways, creating habits to make time and space for yourself to slow down, you're going to continue to get the same results. Most of us are too often and for too long stuck in the fight or flight sympathetic state. So therefore, we need to train our body and our mind to easily relax into and to stay in the parasympathetic rest and digest mode more frequently. If you don't want to break down like an overrun car, then you do have to come to understand or accept the importance of what this all means in order to live with good physical and mental health. And that's what happened for me. I mean, for so long, leading up until when I had my full physiological breakdown that I've talked about here, I didn't take any of this stuff seriously, and I didn't prioritize creating time and space for myself to slow down and to rest and regenerate. And I also want to point out that truly resting doesn't mean that you're like laying down watching Netflix or scrolling on your phone. Unfortunately, which those things are okay to do, but just important to know that if that's what you're doing and that's the time you're using to rest and regenerate, you just should know that you're not actually regenerating because your brain isn't actually being given the time and space to slow down and to kind of like turn off in a sense because it is still being subjected to all this stimulus. That's important to be aware of because that also is where I got stuck before, where it's like, well, I've been laying on the couch watching my TV show all night. Like, why do I feel burnt out? Why do I feel anxious? Why do I still feel stressed out? Overstimulated. And it's like, because you still are being stimulated, even though you are horizontal. So, yeah. Proper rest. I have a blog post on that. I should do maybe a podcast episode on that. I don't think I have yet. No. But I have a blog post on the website about the importance of rest and what real rest is. Anyways, to wrap up this portion, why meditation regulates our nervous system, what you really need to know is that by making your body still and focusing on your breath, you are nudging your nervous system to shift into the parasympathetic rest and digest state. And as our body shifts into the rest and digest state, we are able to regenerate. Our heartbeat and blood pressure drop, digestive functions are being carried out, and the gas exchange in your lungs is improved, which leads to improved oxygenation of the heart and brain. So the activation of the parasympathetic rest and digest state during meditation practice and all of the benefits connected to it can also have lasting effects on your nervous system in daily life. So if you want the short version of everything I just said, meditation helps to regulate your nervous system because it helps to build resilience to stress rather than escaping it. Every time you sit down to breathe, be with yourself, you are telling your body you are safe. And that message alone can change your life. Okay, next, what happens in the brain when we meditate? Let's break this down in simple terms because I am not a scientist. And I don't believe that anyone's really here for like the Andrew Huberman breakdown of it all. I love him and listening to this podcast, but I am not him. And I am going to be sharing information with you directly from my meditation teacher training resources. Okay, let's get into it. What you need to know is that meditation allows for neuroplasticity in your brain, which is your brain's ability to grow and to change as life goes on, because a myth that we are fed for our whole lives is that after 25 you have no chance of your brain changing or growing, and that is just not the truth, which, thanks to Dr. Andrew Huberman, he is making us more aware of that fact. And neuroplasticity happens through enhancing connectivity between different brain regions. So in terms of meditation practice, its influence on your brain is that your amygdala calms down, which means less fear, anxiety, and reactivity. So in fact, the amygdala seems to modulate all of our reactions to events that are very important for our survival. Events that warn us of imminent danger are therefore especially important stimuli for the amygdala. But so are events that signal the presence of food, sexual partners, rivals, children in distress, and so on. Now, when the amygdala perceives a threat, it triggers the sympathetic nervous system into activation, which in turn leads to a stream of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, which mobilize us for action. Most of the threats that we experience these days are psychological rather than biological. This fact, however, does not lessen the incredible physiological load of anxiety on our body. Perceived threat is just as much a reality for the body as an actual physical threat. Now, if you're someone who struggles with anxiety or just experiences anxiety, you are likely familiar with the physiological sensations that can come with anxiety that make you feel like you are in danger. And I've said before how that's not a fact. Your anxious mind lies to you. The sensations you're feeling are lying to you. You are not actually in danger. It's being fed to you through your subconscious mind, and that's exactly what this is saying here. Perceived threat is just as much a reality for the body as an actual physical threat. Okay, now let's get into a study. And the amygdala is a key node in the brain's stress circuitry, and studies have shown that meditation and mindfulness training dampen its activity. In one landmark study, researchers at Emory University gave volunteers an 8-week course of mindfulness training, then showed them upsetting photos to see how they responded. The result was a significant lowering of activity in the amygdala, the part of our brain that triggers the freeze, fight, or flight response. And these changes do not only appear when the explicit instruction is to perceive the stressful stimuli mindfully, but also in the so-called baseline state, where the subject is not in immediate state of meditative concentration. Reductions of up to 50% have been measured in both the meditative states of fairly new meditators and in the baseline state of expert meditators. So that is meditation's impact on the amygdala, which the short version of that is that we experience less emotional reactivity, less fear, and less anxiety. Meditation also strengthens our prefrontal cortex, which equals better focus and emotional control. Our hippocampus grows, so we experience better memory and learning. Our default mode network, the DMN, slows down, which equals less rumination and overthinking. And a Harvard study by Sarah Lazar in 2011 showed structural brain changes in just 8 weeks of short daily meditation practices. This is how practicing meditation literally rewires your brain. And when we talk about brainwave states, we talked about brainwaves in the last episode when it comes to sound healing. Meditation practice can alter our brainwave dominance. And why do we care about that? Well, beta waves are what most of us experience most of the time in our always-on society. They allow us to concentrate hard on the tasks at hand. The downside of beta waves is that they can drain our energy and reduce emotional awareness and creativity. Once we get home at the end of the day, if we are lucky, we shift into a relaxed, reflective alpha wave pattern. However, if our brain struggles with shifting from beta to alpha, stress-induced phenomenon called alpha blocking, we could end up suffering from insomnia, anxiety, or obsessive-compulsive symptoms. Then finally, once you fall asleep, you experience theta waves, the ones associated with dreaming, and delta waves, which promote deep, restorative, dreamless sleep. Interestingly, theta waves are also linked with being in that elusive, hypnotic flow state associated with peak performance, as well as the autopilot mode we shift into when we're doing something we've done a million times before, like driving home from work on a familiar route. So the important thing to know here is that during concentration and meditation exercises, we trigger our brainwave pattern to move from beta wave alertness to alpha wave inner awareness, and regular meditation has been found to permanently increase alpha activity and decrease beta activity in daily life. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, how long do I have to be meditating to experience these shifts in brainwave states? Well, this is especially significant to beginner meditation, which lasts for shorter periods, and the main focus and challenge is to achieve a certain stage of concentration. The benefit of meditation that we can experience in daily life is that we train our brain to more easily shift into the relaxing and calm alpha states when we do not need to perform any high concentration tasks. All this to say, even if you are meditating, maybe you're starting with 5 to 10 minutes, even if your mind is wandering the entire time, your brain is still experiencing the benefits. And that's the beauty of meditation. It works even when it doesn't feel like it's working. Even when you feel frustrated because you couldn't slow down your mind or stop your thoughts or control your thoughts, that's actually not at all what it's about. Controlling your mind is not what is going to bring you any of the benefits of meditation. And even the most experienced meditators have practices where their mind is wandering the whole time. And I like to try and make a point of saying that at my retreats with my partner Lacey in retreats, that whether or not you had any visions or you saw anything or your mind was completely still or it was racing the whole time or you fell asleep, no matter what your experience is throughout a meditation, it counts. It's making an impact on your nervous system, your brain, your body, your health, your wellness. So trying not to compare your experience to other people's experiences when they meditate, because it's different for everyone. And no matter what your experience is during any practice, what matters is that you are doing it, sending signals to your nervous system that you are safe and that it's safe to slow down. Okay, so why are short practices enough? There is sometimes debate, especially in the world of social media or online, about what really is meditation, what counts as meditating. How long does it need to be? What style of meditation does it need to be? What environment are you in? Etc., etc. But I find that all of that discourse can be what stops someone from even giving it a try or even starting. And I think that's very unfortunate because science shows that even 5 to 10 minutes a day of sitting with yourself and your breath lowers cortisol, improves vagal tone, and supports emotional regulation. So you can still experience all of the benefits through a 5 or 10 minute practice. It's more about consistency, not the duration of your practice, that makes the difference. Maybe even only taking 2 minutes. If you have a super busy day or that's all you have the capacity for, taking 2 minutes to close your eyes, be still, and breathe, that is making an impact. That is better than doing nothing. Reframing our all or nothing mindset, especially when it comes to meditation or nervous system regulation in general, is important because it's often the small shifts that you make that create the lasting change in your life and your mental, physical, overall health and wellness. And the thing is that once you start to create the space to do those shorter practices, over time, you are likely to practice for longer durations because you want to and because it feels easier to do. But when we feel like we have to start with a 20-minute to half an hour meditation, we are way more likely to fall off of creating that habit as opposed to starting with these shorter meditation practices. And over time, you most likely will practice for longer durations. Meditation is not about having a blank mind. It's about building awareness. And even a few minutes of awareness each day creates powerful impacts on your nervous system, your mind, your body, your spirit, over time. Okay, so you're starting to practice meditation, you're starting with your 5 to 10 minutes. What real life shifts may you start to notice? The list is long. Less reactivity, greater presence and self-compassion, emotional flexibility, the ability of being fully present, the ability of seeing clearly, the ability of letting go of judgment, the ability to cultivate a curious mind, the ability to be patient, the ability to trust and love yourself. It won't always feel dramatic, but it's always doing something beneath the surface. Because when we talk about all the science behind what meditation is doing to your brain and your nervous system, your body, what we really want to know is, what am I going to experience in my day-to-day life from doing this? And the truth is that it's everything that I just listed and beyond. And I think that's been the greatest lesson I've learned in my meditation practice over the years. And as a meditation teacher now, my main message would be that you're not necessarily going to experience these dramatic, grand shifts and changes. The changes you notice from meditation often show up in everyday moments. When you don't snap at something that once would have made you snap. When you catch yourself pausing before responding instead of reacting with emotions. When you feel more like yourself again. It's these seemingly small moments that aren't dramatic, but dramatically improve and change the way that you're experiencing your life. So, how do you start meditating? Start with 5 minutes. You can use a timer or a guided meditation, whether it's on a podcast platform or on YouTube. I do offer my bi-weekly guided meditations that follow the new moon and the full moon. I aim to make them around 15 minutes long, sometimes a little bit shorter, sometimes a little bit longer. I also like to include like a minute of just the healing frequency music that plays in the background of the meditation for 1 minute at the end of the guided meditation, because I know I don't appreciate when I'm doing a guided meditation on YouTube or a podcast and it's like namaste and then sends you into a new video or an ad or something. So I like to leave a minute of just the healing frequency music so that when we wrap up the meditation, you are still able to lay there and slowly re-enter the real world without being bombarded by like the next video, the next podcast, or an advertisement. But anyways, using a timer or a guided meditation, starting with 5 minutes. Number 2, because even 5 minutes at first might feel long, if you've never really sat with your mind and your breath before, that can feel like a lifetime. So my advice is to focus on your breath, a part of your body, or even a mantra like I am safe, I am relaxed, I am grounded. Focusing on a mantra while you sit with your meditation helps to give your brain something to focus on other than attaching to the thoughts that are happening in your mind. You can even put a hand on your chest and your stomach and feel the rise of your belly and the fall of your belly with each breath. These are ways to keep your mind and your body in the practice together, even if your mind is wandering throughout your practice. And let go of perfection. Most importantly, again, if your mind wanders, it's okay. You can always come back to your breath. You can always come back to a mantra, an intention you set for your practice, and even starting with maybe 2 minutes. Maybe you're at work and you go to the bathroom and you sit for 2 minutes and you just breathe and close your eyes, making it as approachable and empowering to you as you can so that this is something that you want to continue doing. And as you continue practicing it, it will come more naturally to you. You will probably deepen your practice, and you'll start to notice all of the impacts that we've mentioned in today's episode happening in your life. You do not have to do it perfectly, you just have to show up for yourself. Okay, as we wrap up this episode, what we've learned today is that meditation supports your nervous system, rewires your brain, and helps you to feel safer in your body, which is the main goal, because when you feel safe in your body, you are living in alignment and you feel alive, you feel like your true authentic self, and you feel excited about life. Not to say that meditation will cure everything in your life. You will still have your struggles because you're still a human. And as we know, everything comes in ebbs and flows, and it's human to feel. It's human to have good times, bad times, to feel better some days than you do other days. And meditation is a practice that you can always come back to point your mind and body in the direction of healing, relaxation, and growth. And know that it is likely to feel uncomfortable at first, and that's okay. That's actually very normal. Your system is learning to feel safe, and the more that you point it in that direction through these practices, the more comfortable you will feel. I would love to hear from you if you decide to give a 5-minute meditation a try, a 10-minute meditation a try, whatever you're feeling called to try after listening to this episode. I would love to hear about your experience. Again, I have my guided meditations bi-weekly on wherever you're listening to or watching this right now. We always start with a gentle body scan. Then we go through cleansing each of your energy centers, your chakras, to bring you into alignment. And then we do a visualization that is tailored to whichever new or full moon we are experiencing at the time. And I would also love your feedback on those. You can also book a distance Reiki session with me through the booking link in the description below on the EBBS FLOWS website. I always forget to mention this now, but you can also text me. It is the first line in each of the episode descriptions on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. It says connect with Erin. You can click on that. You can send me a text. If you do, I will respond to it in the next episode that I record. I love to hear from you guys. I am grateful for this platform. I'm grateful for meditation, and I'm grateful to continue having these conversations about all of the things that have genuinely improved and changed my life and continue to do so. Thank you for being here today. I'm sending a lot of love and gratitude. I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.